Without further ado,
Yep.
um, our portion before the Q&A at the end should last no longer than 45 minutes. So we want to let you all know that we have edited this down to what we think is, the best meat on the bones, and would like very much for you all to um, have a nice, concise, informational, and fun presentation. Dennis says he's cut off. Well, I think just try to, hopefully he'll just try to re-enter the room. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that,
If anybody does get cut off with internet issues or anything that may happen on your end, just go ahead and log off, refresh the page, and come back in, and that should solve 99% of the issues that could happen along the way.
all right, Joey,
All right, let's begin.
welcome the peeps.
Yes. First of all, welcome everybody to this is the second webinar that we're doing. A training webinar as far as lead nurturing goes. This one is entitled Mastering the Lead Funnel. Welcome, and we're happy that everybody is here. Just for starters, for those of you who may not know us, Prospects International began unofficially when myself and my partner Jack, we met in 2011. We completed beta testing of our new concept and company in 2014, and the LLC was formed in 2015. Since July of 15, Prospects International has provided over 20,000 piano interest leads in over 40 markets within 4 countries, and we've become the premier lead generation source in the piano industry, and we did that with a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, tears, and and working hard.
As partners, and our greatest natural resource would be our clients. About roughly, well, let me back up and say that a large percentage of them now are attributing roughly 25% of their annual income to our lead generation services. So the internet leads that we are providing are turning into piano sales, and it's great for us to be a part of it. Joe, anything more before we go to the next slide?
Yeah, one last thing I'd like to say. We're the most innovative, nurturing, and fun digital marketing agency in the piano industry, and I'm very proud to say that.
The secret to the most profitable lead generation protocol is lead nurturing. I don't believe that there is very much left that that people in the piano industry have to learn to be able to go ahead and close a deal when somebody comes to the door. So let's go to the next slide, and we're going to tell you what this is not about. This is not about low-hanging fruit. I don't think that it's a secret that if we can get people through the door, that you guys and gals do a fantastic job and always have of giving demonstrations, steering people in the right direction towards the proper instruments, and closing deals. So today is not about this. Now, our first webinar that we did about follow-up was kind of sort of about, well, I got a lead, what do I do with it? And we talked about what the options are and what we believe the protocol at that time was to follow up on a new lead. This is not about new leads. This is about those leads that stay in the pipeline for a while. Let's talk about the nature of leads. I think it's important to know that these next 2 slides might be the most important slides of the entire presentation, but there's still more good stuff, so don't go after this. This donut is something that I ask people about all the time when I call and I service, because I want to make sure that I'm talking to them in terms of their real world. And if you'll look in the upper, that's a combination of words, isn't it? In the upper left, you will see a 25%, and those are the people who are on the internet that turn into a lead that will never buy. They're either going to buy an ATV or a home stereo system, or they decide that it's just too darn much work learning how to play the piano. So they just don't ever buy. The upper right hand or green part or quarter of the donut are people who will buy soon. Approximately 50% of the leads you receive will not be closable yet. That's the key word, yet. Now, let me back up and say that our definition of will buy soon is within 90 days. It may be today, and it may be next week, or it may be 3 months from now. But that's our definition of immediate interest. The bottom part of the donut is where you make your true profit and your conversion, because selling low-hanging fruit is not something that we can't already do in this industry. Joey, do you have anything about the nature of leads?
Yeah, in the beginning, when I was selling pianos, I had this mindset where I had to sell every person I encountered, every lead that came in. And when I was presented with this graph, it kind of put everything in perspective. And I wasn't thinking like that anymore. I knew if there was something that wasn't going to close, okay, that falls into the 25%. Something that needs a little time, it falls into 50%. So it's nice to have this perspective in your mind when you move forward.
This is the formula for the highest possible sell-through. We already know how to sell the stuff that's in the market right now today and do a pretty darn good job. Now, I'm not saying we didn't talk about and depart some wisdom in the first webinar when we were talking about, oh, I've got a lead, what do I do now? Because there are different ways to follow up on people who are currently in the market. But today's about lead nurturing, because it's when you can add the lead nurturing and the people you've been working on that have been in the pipeline for a while to the stuff that you were going to sell and the people that were currently in the market. That's when your sell-through becomes high. I'm going to give you some specific examples of numbers and feedback from different clients who 90 days, 120, as long as 180 days into the program, we're selling at a 2-3% conversion rate. Then when they started to get their groove, so to speak, find their way of communicating best with internet leads, and some of the stuff that they had been working on for a while started coming in on top of the things that were immediate, their conversion rate went up above 5%. We have many companies at 7% now, and we have some that are approaching 10%. We have individual associates who are at 12 and 13. And if you get to where you're selling 10 units of any flavor, because it's going to be a mixed bag if you're selling different types of units out of every 100 leads, then that's where we can come. We can find people who are attributing 20-25% of their gross annual income to the lead generation, and that's when the internet becomes a part of your culture and a part of your revenue stream. So this was one of those two were kind of sort of two of my favorite slides in this whole presentation. Here's an example of what is a good thing to do to bolster your credibility and to speak to people who are have come to you on the internet, but sticking your leads into Constant Contact, Yes Mail, MailChimp, or whatever email server that you're using, and just automatically turning them over to automated messages or newsletters doth not effectual lead nurturing make. Newsletters aren't a bad thing. They're a really, really good thing, and they're a positive thing to do. But it's different. It's not the same definition of taking a lead, putting them in a bucket, and talking to them about things that they are specifically interested in. So don't quit doing your newsletters. They're fantastic, and they make people feel good about the company they're doing business with. But newsletters are not lead nurturing.
Now, I'm happy to be able to, for some of you that may not be familiar with the lead funnel, I'm happy to introduce it to you. And to some of you who are, that's wonderful, because the lead funnel is the difference between success and failure when following up with digital leads. An effective lead nurturing funnel is going to allow you to keep opportunities from slipping through the cracks, and it's going to permit you to achieve the highest possible sales volume. Okay. Now, a lead funnel refers to the buying process that companies lead customers through, or I like to say lead customers down, because it's a funnel, when purchasing products. A sales funnel is divided into several steps, which differ depending on the particular sales model. Now, I want you to look at the top three here. Prospects International, if you are one of our clients and we are servicing you, providing you digital marketing services, we're going to handle the top three aspects of this funnel. We're going to attract the user out there over the internet that is likely to purchase a piano. We're going to engage them with some clever advertising, and we're going to capture them with a well put together form that's going to convert them into a lead. Now, nature and convert. That is why we are here today, and that falls under the category of our clients and our sales associates' responsibility. Now, Jack and I pride ourselves on doing all that we can to give training, advice, kind of be guides towards all of this. But when it all comes down to it, the sales associates are the ones that are on the front line, and nature and convert is up to you, and that's what we're going to talk to you about today. This is a quick flow here of the lead funnel. It kind of goes right into the nurture area that we're going to talk about today. For example, let's say we send in a used piano lead to you, okay, which includes all of their contact information. Now, within that lead, there's going to be, normally it's going to be represented as to what they are interested in. This example is somebody that is looking for a used baby grand piano. Now you'll see that there's 4 buckets here, and this, I'm going to talk a lot more about this later, but this represents buckets that are located within your CRM and within your email marketing program. Now, after a lead is categorized from the very beginning, this is a used baby grand buyer, it then gets filtered down, and I'm just going to slide down a little bit so you can see a little more. It's going to be filtered down to a CRM and an email marketing application, both with buckets or lists already created that correspond to where the lead came from. So the CRM would have a used baby grand tag, we would call it in a CRM, and in an email marketing application, it's called a list. Now, through the CRM, there's manual follow-up that happens, and we just did a great webinar on all sorts of great follow-up techniques and scripts, and if you didn't get to see that, you can catch that on our website, prospectsint.com, and click on the resources area. That whole video is there. You can take a look at that. And then you'll see on the email marketing application side, there's a targeted email series that should go out inside an effective lead funnel, and we're also going to talk more about that as we continue.
Let me jump in here and say that in January of this year, we changed the landing page. We used to have an area for people who were on the internet and on our landing page to put in a comment. And it occurred to us that maybe we should ask a question. Back then, January of 2017 and previous to that, we were getting about, maybe 30% of the people who filled out the forms and became an actual lead. 30, maybe 40% were leaving a comment. Since then, we changed it from a comment section and we asked the question, what type of a piano are you interested in? Now we're getting 80%. So this is one of the things that we want to pitch to all of you as digital partners is we're always trying to do a better job of giving you sales associates as much ammo as possible. But let me back up relative to the last slide and say, if the person does not give you the piano type, guess what? And I'm going to tell you something you already know. That's job number 1. You've got to figure out exactly what it is. And sometimes they're going to say, I don't know, or I'm not sure. And there's your topic of conversation. Now that we're on this slide, this slide for me is entitled D, all of the above. In today's new marketing landscape, there's no either ors. It's always both ands. The telephone is used for dialogue, it's used for conversations, it's used for texting, and either or both of those things work. We have many people. Have a client in London that told us just the other day, all of the wealthy people here text. They'll never answer the phone and they'll never return a phone call, but they'll text. And I run into people that I work with all the time, and I say, how's it been going? And they say, I've been leaving voicemails and nobody calls me back. I said, have you tried texting them? Lo and behold, sometimes people who don't want to talk will text. And there's also that percentage of the population who only wants to email and keep as much insulation between themselves and the dreaded salesperson as possible. The thing on the left, the mail, I mean, that can stand for email, but it can also stand for if you've been working somebody for a while and you know that they're interested in a player system, then if you've got a Spirio brochure, if you've got a Disclavier brochure, if you've got something that retrofits that you think will help, send them something in the mail. My goodness, getting something personal in today's digital age is a special thing. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that it was D, all of the above. Joey, talk to him a little bit about CRMs.
Sure, and we actually just had a question as somebody. For those of you who are not familiar with a CRM, this is a customer relationship management application or database. Okay. Once again, I know I keep saying this a lot, but I feel very strongly about this. It's the difference between success and failure when following up with digital leads. Yes, you have to have a lead funnel, but gosh, you sure got to have a good, effective CRM. A lot of our clients in the piano industry already have a CRM, which is great. We offer a complimentary one for those that may not already have one. In the beginning, we encountered some piano galleries that weren't working with one, and they had a problem with managing leads because they would write it on a piece of paper and it would get scattered all over their desk, and it was a big problem. So customer relationship management.
Or they were still on an Excel spreadsheet.
Exactly. It's a database or an application, normally an application, that allows you to follow up with leads. It assists in the follow-up process. The three main reasons why you want to use a CRM is for organization, okay, obviously, because all of your leads are going to be in one place, detailed notes, timing on when you're going to follow up, and different items of that aspect could be in there. Collaboration, very important, because sales managers can log in and oversee the activity of specific sales associates. So that's very important for you to have your manager guiding you as you are interacting with the CRM. They can leave notes for you and monitor the progress on there. And also reporting, okay? If you want to raise your conversion rate, if you want to try to sell more pianos, first of all, you want to know what your conversion rate is. I mean, that's the starting point. You have to know what percentage you're closing, and the CRM will do that because all the data that you put in there, it's going to be consistently calculating and telling you what your conversion rate is. Okay, so it all starts with that. Jack, do you have any more comments on the CRM?
Ours is complimentary and it's color-coded. There are a lot of great CRMs out there. If you all are using your own CRM and there is a color coding feature available that you can make active, I would encourage you to do that because we are all programmed, conditioned. We have muscle memory since the time we got our driver's permit, or, well, for me, it was learning how to drive on the farm without stoplights. But once you get out on the road, there's these things called stoplights, and they are red, yellow, and green. We all know what it means to stop, proceed with caution, or go. We got something cooking here. And those colors are important psychologically, not just to keep things organized, but also it helps salespeople feel good about what they've accomplished and feeling good about their accomplishments. Because as sales representatives, and I use the Piano Leads CRM myself, we all have better days than others. Is that a good way to put it? That's all I have. I just think that it's important to use the KISS theory, although we've got all this new sexy technology anytime that we can apply keeping things simple. Because one of the things Joey always says at least once or twice a meeting is that automation is liberation. So if you have a CRM that's allowing your leads to import automatically into the CRM, and you can organize them and you can keep notes on the last conversation, you are going to outsell somebody of equal talent who is not organized.
That's correct. And if any of you have further questions on CRMs, if you'd like us to recommend one that would fit your needs, or you'd like to try ours, there'll be contact information at the end, and we do encourage you to reach out. This is a very important topic, okay? I mentioned buckets before, and it does all start with a bucket. It's very important, like I said before, for us to categorize what types of leads are going in, and I'm going to tell you why, okay? Because when we're following up with a lead, we want to be as targeted as we can to what the user is seeking in the first place. For example, if we have a user that's coming in and they're looking for a digital piano, for example, okay, or they could be looking for a player, either or. If we mark them as a digital from the beginning, that affects the entire lower level of the lead funnel, because we're going to be putting them in an email marketing series that only talks about digital pianos. So it's very, very targeted, okay? This is an example of an email list that maybe will send out invitations about digital marketing, about digital piano tutorials that may be going on in the piano gallery. It may be a list that sends out helpful hints about digital pianos, the recording aspects of them, the karaoke aspects of them, and some of the Roland models. So
there's plenty of features to promote.
Absolutely. Also within the CRM, something that is tagged as digital, you're going to follow up with the customer according to what they're looking for. So you know, before you even make that phone call, have some digital news fresh on your mind that you're going to speak with them about, the newest digital instruments that you may have brought in. Okay, so that's an example of why it's so important to categorize it. And furthermore, let's let the system categorize it for us so we don't have to go in and manually do it. Now, we are dealing with humans, so sometimes users will not input what they're looking for. Even if we ask them straight in the face, what type of piano do you want? They might still not tell us, okay? So in that case, we may have to tag them or manually add them to a list. But like Jack said, automation is liberation, and we work every day to try to automate the processes that we can, that are best to be automated, and shine in the processes that are best to be done manually.
Understand also that sometimes people will, as I mentioned earlier, not be sure. So they may fall into two buckets or two categories. Which means that you need to satisfy their curiosity before they come to a determination on which one they really want to land in. I think that's important to remember.
Absolutely. And everybody should ask yourself, are the leads that are entering my funnel, are they being automatically categorized? And if not, hopefully there's enough information here that we're presenting to you where you can set that up yourself. If not, reach out to us. We'll be happy to look into what your lead funnel is doing right now and make sure that this is happening for you. Now, I talked a little bit about email automation and series, okay? Here's what a series is. This is great because leading email marketing applications like Constant Contact and MailChimp, they have this functionality built in. And what a series is it's a group of emails that are going to occur at different times, okay? So it's an automated follow-up series.
Pre-programmed times.
Right. This is a series of emails that will be deployed based upon your settings. For example, one email goes out every time a user enters a list. For example, if a user is automatically put into an email list, or if you put them in manually, okay, then another email may go out 2 weeks later and so forth. So you can create a 4 to 6 week series just on baby grand piano information that will go out automatically to a prospect, okay? Now, that's wonderful, okay, because a customer has labeled themselves as, I'm interested in baby grands. Well, great. We're going to put you in a rotation where every week you're going to receive a brand new email that's all about great stuff regarding baby grand pianos. Okay, so that automated series are wonderful things. They're a great part of the lead funnel. If you need help setting this up in either one of these applications, reach out to us. We'll be happy to give you a hand with that.
About being a good concierge, about being a good tour guide, about being a great information source, about being the most trusted person that they're wanting to work with to find that to make that final decision. When any of these buckets manifest themselves, and the lead is obviously in this bucket, these series that you send out, and if it were me, I would tell the person that I'm working with that, listen, since you have expressed interest in player pianos or upright pianos or whatever it is that they're interested in, I would let them know that I'm going to put you in queue, and when we have interesting, fun, and entertaining informational things about the type of piano that you're interested in, you are going to get these things. So yes, I'm going to be staying in contact with personal emails and voicemails and texts, but also understand that I'm not getting lazy if you get something automated from me. It's just that I want you to have all the information you can possibly need to make the very best decision. All of us are probably, or most of us, I will not assume, we know what that word means, have heard how the word baby grand came up, how the term came up, and it's the most subjective thing in the doggone piano industry, because I could ask all the, here's a fun thing to do. Everybody type in a length. Give me the length, the window of what the size of a baby grand piano is. Now you all watch this as these come in. Tell me how big a baby grand piano is. Just use your chat feature and give me what your definition of the length of a baby grand piano is. What you're going to see is everybody has a little bit different take. See, there's Alex, up to 5'7". Oh, up to 6, 5 to 5'4". So this is. Can you imagine being a consumer and calling around to the local piano dealers and getting information? I guess it's like calling the IRS, right?
Well, no, because you'd never get anybody to answer the phone.
Oh, that's true. At least piano salespeople will answer the doggone phone. So you all see my point, is that these people are wanting information. They're more educated than ever before. And they want information. They want you to help them. And being their concierge, being their tour guide, being their trusted friend is the goal here. So for each bucket, come up with 3 or 4 interesting, pertinent, short paragraphs or articles. And then Joy's going to tell you about the call to action.
Absolutely. Now, it's important to remember, it's not good to automate personal emails to people, okay? Let's make sure that when we're using an automated email series, that we're automating general emails like this that are maybe giving you fun facts about pianos or invitations or things like that. The personal emails are best left to do one-on-one. They just are more effective that way. Now, this is very important statement I'm about to make, okay? Every email that you write, whether it is automated or personal to anybody, should have an objective or call to action, okay? So you should ask yourself, what is my objective? What is my call to action every time that you write an email, right? Because an email is not effective if it doesn't have an appropriate call to action. So here is my advice on an email like this. Okay, if this is an automated email and it's all about some fun information about the baby grand, at the end of this, a good example of a call to action or an objective would be to get the customer to maybe click a button that leads them somewhere where they can fill out a form and reserve a spot in the next baby grand demonstration that you have. Okay, that's an example of a good call to action. You're trying to get the customer to do something and lead them further down the funnel. There's many different types of call to actions and objectives. It could be a simple, reply back to me if you agree with this. It could be posting your social media links and requesting that they share the article. But we all should put in an objective or call to action to every email that we create. This way, our emails are going to lead the user further and further down the sales funnel. If we get this user to sign up for a baby grand demonstration in a store from an automated email, that is awesome. That means you got somebody to come into the store really without even speaking to them. Now, we don't recommend that. Of course, people sell pianos. It's all about the human interaction. But like I said, what we can do to help automate, we're gonna try to do it. Okay, so that's just some great examples of some objectives and call to actions that you can add to your emails, whether automated or personal.
And don't forget to list your social media share links also. That way, if something is interesting to somebody and they want to share it with someone else, you get a little bit of free internet press there. And that's always a good thing, right, Joey?
That is correct. Somebody sharing links or sharing an application is free leads, and that is a wonderful thing. Absolutely.
Now, this next slide here is, I guess the first thing I want to say is that, unfortunately, as hard as we work and as much as we try to find people who are in the market to buy a piano today, obviously because this webinar is about lead nurturing, we can't take all the work away from being a salesperson. We want to automate and find ways to automate as many things as possible, but you will never be able to not roll up your shirt sleeves and forget about hard work. We can't take all the work of qualifying and disqualifying. We can't have relationships for you. But what we can try to do is the best possible job of putting leads in front of you that give you the opportunity to deepen a relationship, because that's how pianos are sold. Now, pardon the pun here, you may never know, as the script goes, if you struck a chord or deepened a relationship. So after you have an automated email go out, it's really a great time, because you may have, quotes, struck a chord, to follow up with another form of communication, whether it's a personal email, whether it's a text or a phone call, whatever it is, because if you don't do that, you may not know that you have actually heated a deal up a little bit more than it was, and the time may be right to invite them in for a one-on-one personal experience. And we know, just so you know, Joey sold pianos. He is probably the only coding wizard in the world that I know of that deals with lead generation on a regular basis, that has the end in mind, because I was a part of that whole thing when he trained on how to sell pianos on the floor. And by the way, he was pretty darn good. So all of these things that we're doing as people ensconced in the piano industry. And we need you to know that we know what your goal is. We know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Here's the number 8, and this is a number that may or may not be popular with some people. I would like to think that after all the years that many of us have been chasing down leads, we would be familiar with the fact that sometimes you have to chase them down for a while. This actually would have worked well in our first webinar when we're talking about follow-up, simply because of the fact that this is how many attempts I think should be made until a lead is delegated or relegated to the nurturing status. So if somebody in our definition is currently in the market, our terminology at Prospects International, and yours for your company can be whatever it is 90 days. In 90 days, you should have made 8 attempts at every one of these leads before you relegate them to eventual nurturing. Now, that should be a combination of phone calls, texts, and emails. It should not be any of one kind. Back to the other slide that said D, all of the above. Now, if you're working for Dennis James out west and Dennis says your number is 6, then it's 6. If Ryan West says that your number is 12, then it's 12. If Rick has his people 10, whatever the boss says. But just understand, we would not have 60% of our clients had I stopped at 4. We would have less than half of our client base if I said, well, I've worked them. I called a guy in Australia one time and I said, so how's the follow-up going? And he goes, well, I've called and emailed every one of them. I went, oh boy, we've got trouble right here in River City. He thought he was done. Read in between the lines. He'd made 2 attempts, and I've also had I've had people tell me, I'm just not going to pester people. Okay, well, here's my response to that. If sales is a creative process, if you can't find entertaining, creative, and engaging ways to talk to somebody and deepen a relationship, and not always be calling up to ask for them to close the deal 4 copies, press hard, then you've got worse problems than being a good salesperson. I mean, this is about relationships. That's what this is about. People buy from people, and they back it up with logic. So try hard enough to make a friend, because guess what? The company with the most friends wins. That I will guarantee you. Okay, Joey, I'm going to get down off my soapbox about that. Let's go to the next one. I'm sorry, guys. I get a little excited sometimes.
That's okay. Your information is very, very good stuff, man. Very, very good stuff. I hope we're helping some folks. I posted a little poll about baby grand piano sizes. And we'll make that live at the end, but it's kind of interesting, some of the results that we're getting here. So feel free to complete that poll as you go along. Let's talk about some advanced communication automation techniques. That's a mouthful. Now, what I'm going to talk about here, just as it says, it's advanced stuff, okay? So this is the reason we added this here. It's kind of for clients that we have that are at that 10% conversion rate, and they say, you know what, I want more. We're running like a well-oiled machine. What else can we do to improve our follow-up and keep on going, keep on pushing the envelope? So I've listed some examples here of some advanced automation that we can use. Okay, the first one is, now I will say this, none of these are initially included with any of the marketing programs that we have because they're advanced. We want you to get at least up to that above 5% conversion rate on up to 10 before we talk about this, because you got to get the basics first. Okay, so the first one is live chat. Okay, and this is an instant form of communication. Okay, we do have applications that lead users down a path where we can collect their contact information and forward it on to you for follow-up about pianos. But live chat is a feature that will even allow you to speak to them before we've even converted them. Okay,
yeah, that's real-time dialogue, baby. That's good stuff.
Absolutely. So this is live chat enables you to speak with a customer when the idea about pianos is most hot in their head at the time. Okay, we do have a client in London, and I was meeting with them last week, and we were talking about implementing this and how fast their response time is. And I typically tell piano sales associates, well, 72 hours is the most you want to spend waiting to contact a lead. I really would like you to do it as sooner than that. They said, Joey, we try to contact our new leads within 20 minutes. That is how we are most successful. And I said, that's terrific. That's the first time I've heard that. That's great. Okay, so live chat even beats 20 minutes. Live chat enables you to engage with these users immediately when they have just landed in real time on the landing page. So it's a very good tool. I've spoken with sales associates that have sold pianos over live chat before. Okay, that is verified and confirmed.
And
Okay.
you know what? Just to manage our time here, Joe, I'm going to jump in at 15 seconds. We're not going to go deep into all of these so that we can manage your time and get to the Q&A. But Joe and I were talking the other day, and this page right here will grow into its own webinar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The next one is automated text marketing. Okay, I'm sure you've seen this before. It is a delicate tool not to be abused. Texting is very personal to somebody. So if you are marketing to them via text message, we do not want to do it often, okay? And we want to automate things that are very, very important, like very, very large, important sales or big in-store events, okay? But every time we generate a lead, we're keeping that telephone information, and we can use it for this type of marketing. Now, the next one is triggers, which are a wonderful thing. Triggers are any action online that's done that invokes another action. A great example of a trigger is if you go onto your used piano or new piano inventory page and you add a listing, right? After you add that listing, if it's a used piano, automatically an email is generated and sent to all of your prospects that are marked as used piano buyers. Okay, so that's a great example, as opposed to you uploading the image, uploading the text about the inventory to one website, then you have to go into Constant Contact and create an email about that. No, triggers handle that. So they automatically invoke actions from other actions. Okay, so they're great tools, and triggers can be used for a huge number of things. Like we said, it's a whole separate webinar, but it gets very deep and wonderful. Okay, a model-specific email series is all about, is what it says, specific models. If you have categorized a customer where, for example, they want a specific Yamaha Dislavir or Steinway Spirio of a specific size, and you know exactly what that is, we can put them into a model-specific email series that's all about information about that specific model. Okay,
Yeah, we had an example of that earlier.
Absolutely. Very, very cool stuff. Not just a baby grand in general, okay, but the specific model that they're looking for. There's a lot of fun buyer's guides on specific models that gives you a lot of information about that model, why it was created, why the different models that they modeled it after. So that's great stuff. The final one is targeted remarketing. Okay, so every lead that we send in to our clients, those leads are saved, okay? And we can use those leads, that data, to market specifically to them, specifically using social media advertising. So the question is, if you could create an ad that appears in all of your customers' news feeds, okay, all of your prospects' news feeds, what would you say in that ad? How would that ad be put together? It would be different than if you were showing it to somebody that you've never spoken to before. So that's a final example.
Before you go, Joey, don't leave this slide yet. We're down to our last couple slides, folks. Thank you for being here. We're going to open it up to Q&A in a minute, but I want to ask one final question. If you all don't mind, those of you who are inclined to use your chat feature and give us a number. There are 5 advanced communication automation techniques listed. Just use your chat and tell us how many you are using of those 5. It's going to be a number between 0 and 5.
Yep. And
I did that without a calculator. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
I want to point that out.
And as those are coming in, we're going to go to our final slide here. Jack, take it away.
Is this our final slide?
This is.
This
Before
is
the wonderful thank you slide, yes.
This is the one you all have been waiting for. People today, they do need a concierge. They have more information than ever before. They do want to buy. They don't want to be sold. They want a friend. They want somebody that will help them down the path to making the right decision. The old days of reading all of those closing technique books I'm not saying don't read them, don't use them, but closing people is not that hard if you do all the stuff previous to asking for the order first. And in this day and age, people will close very, very readily if you've worked on the relationship. Those are some good numbers. Look at this, Joey. So there's some people who have gone down the road to those advanced techniques. So that's kind of exciting.
I'm
The
seeing that.
piano
I see
company
some
is
ones.
coming. It's coming of age.
Yep, I see some ones, some twos, some threes. That's excellent. Excellent.
Just want to thank you all for being here. My final statement before we open it up to Q&A is make friends and you will outsell your competition. Joey and I are not in an ivory tower. We're not a big corporate entity, and we are not going to be unapproachable or unavailable. We find out our best ideas and we work on our innovations from feedback that comes from the trenches. So please, if you are one of our clients, talk to us. When I call, I'm just wanting to know what's working and what's not working and how we can be of assistance. So, Joey, I'm going to let you wrap things up here, and then we'll go to the Q&A.
Sure. One thing I want to mention is that your sales managers have given us permission to speak with you directly, and we love speaking to sales associates one-on-one because that's what it's all about. It's about the mission. It's about helping. It's about seeing conversion rates rise. So please do not be shy in contacting us. Any question that you may have regarding any application that we're running for you or any type of techniques. If you want to talk to us about a difficulty that you're having with a prospect, we'd love to help you. And we don't have all the answers, but we do have a wealth of clients in the U.S. and abroad, and we take in all of that information. So we try to keep our finger on the pulse. So if you email us at any one of those email addresses, you'll get our phone number as well because it's in our signature there. So whether on telephone or email, we'd love to talk to you. The last thing I'd like to tell you about before we go to the Q&A is our resources section. It's prospectsint.com/blog. Right here, I'm going to try to highlight it for you right there. Whoop, highlighted the whole thing right there. This section is a wealth of articles, webinars, videos, just everything related to follow-up in the piano industry that we could possibly give you to help. We update it often, so head over there if you're looking for further information. Now we're going to get to our Q&A section. Thank you everybody for attending, and we're going to stick around until every question is answered if there are any questions. So please feel free to use your chat feature and ask us a question. We'll be happy to try to find an answer for you.
Yeah, I want to take Bob's turn in a moment, but the one thing I do want to say is for those of you who are going to cut out, you may or may not want to because we don't really know what's going to happen next. And sometimes this is the most entertaining part of the thing. Bob,
Don,
Bob's question.
Don.
Bob's question is why is the sale
sorry.
closed after the fifth or sixth closing question? Bob, I'm going to assume that you're talking about somebody who you've demonstrated a piano to and you are sitting in front of them and you're trying to get the deal closed. Is that 100% correct, Bob? If you would answer me that before I replied, Joey, you can go ahead and take Don.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I dyslexic there. I thought Don was Bob and Bob was Don.
Yeah. You're 34 and I'm 60, and you had the senior moment.
I know. There you go. Don's question is, how are you finding the leads? Well, Don, we've been working on finding and targeting leads in the piano industry for years now. We have a lot of different techniques that we use via social media advertising, pay-per-click advertising. We actually spend so much money on social media and pay-per-click advertising that we have designated officials and coaches from companies like Facebook and Instagram and Google that actually help us out because we have a pretty big account. We have a lot of piano galleries under our wing, and we want to make sure that the newest technology is pushed to us so we can send that on to our clients. So sum up your question as far as finding the leads, there's many different techniques that we use, and I could go on and on about how we do that. But I will tell you this, every day, one of our main focuses is how can we get better at targeting the qualified piano buyer. The internet's the wild, wild west, but we do all we can to work on quality and send in people that are really actually thinking about purchasing a piano.
Hey, Joey, just give him 30 seconds on lookalike targeting.
One example of a feature that we use is lookalike audiences. And what a lookalike audience is, as a piece of advertising is running, specifically a piece of social media advertising, every time a user clicks on that ad, visits a landing page, and converts. When I say converts, that means somebody fills out a form. The system is keeping that user's information, okay? And it's putting it inside a lookalike audience. Now, what's great about lookalike audiences is we can use that person's interests and their information, their demographic and psychographic information, to go after other users that fit that criteria. So the science is, if somebody with this type of interest is interested enough to complete a form and say, you know what, contact me about pianos, we want to find people just like that.
And there's a whole science behind that, but Don, we'll be more than glad to set an appointment and actually show you the lead flow presentation if you'd be interested in us answering that graphically and in detail. Bob, coming back to you, you know, when I made the statement that closing is not as important as it used to be, I think that's a paraphrase. I believe that there are exceptions to every rule, and I believe that there are times when you are, just like back in the days when we had discretionary income post 2008, there are going to be times when you know somebody has the wherewithal, they have the interest, and you just have to close them hard. So I'm not saying that's never appropriate. What I was attempting to say, and maybe I didn't do it well, what I was attempting to say was that if you work on the steps previous to the closing and you have established credibility and you've established rapport and they like you and you've done a good fact finding and you've done a good demonstration based upon a fact finding that allowed you to give them the proper demonstration on the proper instrument inside their price range, closing should not be as hard these days because these people are really a lot more educated than they used to be. So hopefully I put that into context. I do not disagree that there are times when you just have to close hard and you got to haul those old fundamentals back out of the closet and use them. And here's one, here's a closing technique y'all might want to try. Just lock the front door and tell them until they cut you a check they can't leave.
Hey, that if they're not armed, that's going to work every time. Are there any questions out there? Final call for questions. Bob has done that. Bob has locked the door. Well, that's good. That's somebody we want to work with. We want to work with aggressive partners. Absolutely.
Bob. I like Bob. What about Bob? Did you ever see that movie?
Everybody's seen that movie.
That's one of my favorite movies, definitely.
Last call. Any more questions from anybody out there?
We encourage any of you to call us, email us, text us. If you're not familiar with event flow or lead flow and you'd be interested in finding out more about it, we love to talk about it. If you are one of our existing clients when we call, don't run the other way. We're just trying to be a good support system.
Okay, well, wonderful. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the day. And go out there and sell some pianos. And it was wonderful meeting with all of you. Thank you very much.
We did it. We did it within an hour. Yay!